live, but hello to everybody that's there watching us live. Let me just press record.
Hello.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jenni Walke from Elephant in the Room Consulting, and I'm with my digital BFF, Kylie Mowbray-Allen, for Friday's Business Bite Size. How are you going today, Kylie?
I'm great, thanks. How are you, Jenni?
I'm wonderful. I've had a very busy week. I had lots of stuff going on and looking forward to a nice weekend, actually.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a little self-care myself this weekend.
Definitely,
So,
definitely.
Yeah, winter definitely always makes me think it's time to do a bit more self-care.
I agree. And in fact, the business is having a couple of weeks off from it. We have a break in our coaching program for 2 weeks where we actually do a bit of a reset and a refresh. Where we go through our, what's our business for the next year look like. We do a review of last year, but it's also an opportunity for me to have just those extra couple of hours a week just to reflect, take some time, do some things that I've been putting off to the side because we sometimes just don't make time for those things.
No, you did right. You did right. I really had to get firm with myself on those CEO days and making sure that they're actually happening. And I found when I can't actually schedule a whole day, then that's okay. I can do 2 half days that week.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been really prioritizing making those days happen to, especially as we come up to, we're literally almost upon the end of financial year.
100%.
Getting on top of things. I had a few hours on Zoom yesterday with my bookkeeper, and I just realized it's all about your mindset, isn't it? Because I even said to my daughter and husband that morning, I was like, ugh, I've got 2.5 hours talking about and I was like, I was in such a negative space, but I get on with it so well. We jump on Zoom, we're like, let's get on top of these tricky ones and figure out this and and then I was like, at the end, it's like, wow, we achieved so much. And I felt enthused. So isn't mindset such a big part of it? And
it really is. Sometimes we kind of go, when I first started in business, I was a long time ago, I've always been very structured, been very analytical about the way that I viewed the world and the way that I made decisions. And then when I fell into business, I found that I was starting to make decisions far more based on how I feel and the connection and what it means and my alignment to kind of that mindset piece. Because I realized my mindset had always been structure, process, analyze. And now as a business owner, because it's so personal, you actually start to realize the impact it has in the way they view the world. So I miss my days of analytical of just, this is how it's done because it was easy. But now I'm like, oh, how am I feeling today? And how am I going to respond to clients in that way? So 100% mindset is so important in viewing your outlook.
So dead right. And also, as soon as you said, now I think about how do I feel about that, etc. And that reminded me of someone I interviewed recently for the Positive Passionate Businesswoman Hello You podcast. And she is I'm trying to think what her official title is. It's something like a time coach or something along those lines. Sorry that I've got that not quite right. But what she's recently been studying and then bringing into the work that she does with her clients is actually where you're at in your cycle. And so if you really, because we're all so used to just pushing through and going, we just got to get it done no matter how we're feeling or where we're at. Let's just do it. But actually knowing your cycle, looking at your calendar and going, okay, on that Wednesday, on that date, I know that I can't do what I need to do there. My brain isn't as creative as it could be. So I'm going to schedule that for the following week or the week before. And that day, I'm just going to do some slower stuff where I don't need to be with people and thinking I could maybe doing admin or whatever. And I thought that was really interesting. I never thought to look at it like that.
No, and that's I'm gonna have to think about that for a while because I can't even imagine that. But yeah, it's a really interesting point that we know it affects the way that we show up and our mood and our kind of sense of worth even on that day in terms of if it's a really difficult month, then it actually does impact the way that you kind of see yourself and see your position in kind of everything you do. So I can see that. Yeah,
absolutely.
My brain is struggling with it.
Yeah. She said since she's been doing it for herself and then for her clients, she's really noticed a difference. So I'm like, anything that you can do, right, that's going to actually help you tune into where you're at and so that you can do business better and not fight on the days that you're not actually, well, fight yourself on the days that you're just not feeling it. And
well, I think that's the point, is that it's choosing to work. And it comes back to that conversation that you and I have a lot, is that, show up and be the person you want to be on that day rather than being the person you think you need to be. So I think when we run a business, one of the reasons I was talking about this on Wednesday when I did a session in a networking group, that it's actually about choice. We start business because we want abundance or flexibility and all those things, but really what we're craving is choice. That's why we start our own company, to be honest. And some people might say, I want to create my own wealth. Well, why can't you do that in another company? Oh, no, because they limit my opportunity or they limit my possibilities or I'm capped. So really you want choice. Everything comes down to wanting choice. And sometimes we forget that we have a choice in how we want to show up and how we want to work and who we want to talk to. And on those days, that's, I love that idea about tapping into it. As I'm thinking about it, tapping into how I'm feeling on that day and where I am as a human being in my cycle or whatever it might be, is a really powerful way to, access that and harness that choice in terms of, today I'm going to be this person and this is how I'm going to show up because it's the right thing for me, not necessarily for other people.
Absolutely. So I've just remembered it's, excuse me, the woman that I was speaking to, for anyone that wants to explore that further, it's Christy Flora, and she's got the coolest business name. Her business name is Floor and Order. Yes, winning. I love that. I think that's
it is an awesome name.
Actually, the other cool business name I've come across recently, and purely because initially I was buying the product from her, and then she joined our Positive Passionate Businesswoman. So I got the opportunity to ask her how she came up with the business name, but her business name is Good Sheet. And so her business is actually a laundry sheet. So it's just these little wee tear off sheets that you put in instead of laundry powder or liquid. It comes in cardboard. So the whole thing is completely compostable. And I'm a real sucker for a subscription. I love it when I don't have to think about buying something, because it's just going to arrive every 3 months, just like Who Grabs the Crap, which I totally love as well. So really, really clever name, Good Sheet. So
I like that.
I thought that was very, very clever. So yeah, go and check that out. I'm totally into a good business name that gives me a good
Well, I know today's session we're talking about networking, but I'm actually going to link what we're talking about into our topic for today, because all the conversations we've just been having are about people that we've met through networking, aren't they? It's not, we come up with these ideas and we find these people and we connect with new people, and our community grows because of the way that we network and engage with people. And I used to hate the term networking because it conjures up this kind of false, I have to stand there and be this person and pretend and show up in a different way, because, you're always having to sell, you're always having to do something and do your pitch. But my attitude for networking has changed so much over the last couple of years to really be about, how do I just grow my connections? How do I just find more people and build my tribe and build my community? And what comes of that may be business, may be really great advice, maybe relationships, maybe, business connections through other people. But networking for me is now really just about, how do I build a community rather than how do I sell? How does networking show up for you?
Well, I absolutely love what you've said, and it's very poignant what you said about what we were chatting about and then linking that into networking, because you might have noticed that both those people I gave examples of, I said met them through, or interviewing them through, or whatever, through Positive Passionate Businesswoman, which, as you know, is my networking group, well, the networking group that I've founded and run. So for me, the women that I meet in there, neither of them I'm actually working with, but except one I'm actually buying from, but in both those instances, they've made an impact on me when I've met them, and then I've then shared their information on. I'm not getting paid for it. There's no affiliate links or anything like that. But that's the beautiful thing about networking, I think. And I think where people can sometimes get a bit skew-off with it and get worried that networking is just going to be overwhelming or too much, is that they think, I've got to actually make referrals all the time, or I've got to actually work with that person. If I meet them at a networking event, they're going to expect that I want to work with them. And I don't believe that's what it's about. I believe what it's about is making an impact on someone or inspiring someone. And so then when I'm suddenly talking about cool names, I'm like, oh, that's right, I met that person at that networking event, for example. So yeah, I think networking in general is a tricky word, because it gives people some anxiety around, I've got to show up, I've got to speak up and all of that. And that can be really terrifying for some people.
And I think, and I understand why some networking groups do have that structure about, you have to give an X number of referrals and you have to have an X number of meetings. And they do that to, I guess, for some way force people into doing those activities. Because if I didn't have any metrics to go against, if I wasn't held accountable, I probably wouldn't do it. Maybe, I don't know. Whereas for me, I like that idea of saying, taking the pressure off to saying, when I meet somebody, I want to have a conversation with you and build a connection with you, because I may not need to use you now, but I don't want you to think that if I can't work with you right now, or I can't refer someone to you right now, that I may not be able to do that in the future. And that's what's always turned me off about the formal networking programs, because I've met some great people. And the first conversation is like, so can you refer these people to me? This is the people I'm looking for. This is how I want to work with you. And I'm like, well, whoa. I don't even know who you are yet. Let's get to know each other first. And then through that, we might like, as you said, hey, you're looking for a zero waste laundry product, have a look at Goodsheet. Or you're looking for someone who can help you organize the world, go to, Floor and Order for your time management, or our colleague Julie Cliff, who does, or organizes your house. So all those things are not because we go, I like what you do, I'm going to refer. It's because we go, I know my broader community in time may have connections, as opposed to that immediate need, which I don't like about normal networking groups.
I agree. I definitely agree. And I think I've talked with you before about someone that I was doing some work with, and they'd said to me, every time you refer me and you actually win me a client, which that in itself is a funny term, isn't it? But I'll pay you $100. So before he actually officially said it, I had recommended a number of people to work with him. Then he kind of made an unofficial thing, and I stopped recommending him. Not because I didn't think he was great anymore, but it was because the awkward thing about it being a money exchange, I never want people to think that I'm only recommending them to something because I'm going to benefit from it. That felt really super awkward. It's different when it's an affiliate link to something and you might get, maybe it's like a Canva affiliate or whatever. That's completely different because I'm using the product every day myself. I'm loving it. Or, AppSumo, that's great. If I give you my code, you get $10 off and I get $10 on my account. Like, that's a cool kind of an affiliate.
Yeah,
it's
definitely
very different to saying, Jenni, if I recommend a client to you, will you give me $100? That feels like an uncomfortable exchange to me, and it doesn't make me feel really good about referring people. So it's an interesting one, isn't it? About those formalized, and it's it's not all networking groups, but certainly some of them are built on that particular premise that you need to do this, this, and this, and then you're going to get this in return, or even be allowed to stay in the group by doing that.
Yeah. And I think that's, and as you say, we talk about language is important, and we say, we're going to a networking. I went to an event last night. It was the Queensland Resource Council Indigenous Awards. And even they do 30 minutes of networking before the event. Then they have the awards, and then there's an hour of networking after. But when we go to those events, because we're all in the same industry, we're all working in the same kind of environment, that pressure of having to refer people is gone. Really, those events for that networking is about just build your connections, just build your communities, start to know what everyone else is doing, start to build those, because when you know what other people are doing in their business or doing in their work, then it gives you ideas, and it sparks relationships that say, hey, can we do some collaboration, or how did you do that? So in a professional sense, when you're that corporate networking, it becomes around, I'm using it for idea exchange, or even just sharing what I'm doing and being able to kind of, hey, did you know that this is happening? Versus the business networking, which is what we're more talking about, where you have business groups come together and say, okay, we're here to build our businesses. So how many referrals have you got and what have you done? It really changes the dynamic. And for me, it changes the energy of the room, because I was with one of them for about 6 months, and I just felt like I was just referring people to people, and I'd be like, I just have to write something on a piece of paper. And in some respects, I didn't even feel like it was valuable, because I don't know whether they were going to work. I hadn't had a conversation with them, but it was like I'm forced into writing a name on a piece of paper and giving it to somebody, because there were prizes. Who has the most number of referrals today? And it's like, wow, like, go and talk to such and such because they're giving 35 referrals. Like, it just started to feel a bit like, that's not what business, to me, that's not what connection's about.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I excuse me, I'm a bit croaky today. So I run these workshops with Nortec Small Business Connect, so government funded by the New South Wales government, trying to help businesses grow. And so each time I jump on to these 90-minute workshops, I always start with put your details in the chat of who you are, how you help people, and how you work with people, and then of course how they can connect with you. And the reason for that is twofold. So one, because it's great for me to know who I'm actually talking to and who's there in the room, but also then I can go and connect with them later on and follow them on Instagram, etc. But then I also say to them, you never know who you're going to meet in any situation that might be someone that you want to collaborate with.
Yeah.
So I said, so think of this opportunity as a networking opportunity. There's no cameras on. It's held through Microsoft Teams. So you can't actually see the people. But when you do a really great elevator pitch, but written in a chat, and you say what you do, who you are, how you help people, and how to connect with you, boom, that can be super intriguing. So what I notice when I'm asking people to write that in there, some of them really make me go, oh, I want to know more about what you do. I'm going to delve into and go and find out what you're all about. Others, it's just like boom, boom, basics, there it goes. And I'm not actually excited to go and find out more. So it's really important, isn't it, that line that will, I'll give you an example of one, which is Charmaine from In-House Pilates. She always finishes with the line, which is, I help you do life better. And I think,
I love that.
Every time. She teaches over 50s Pilates so online. So it's a very, very specific audience that she's going for. And then she says, I help you do life better. And I love it. So I think, of course, then it's always going to make people want to go and find out more about how she does it, what she does, and how they could work with her. So I think it's really important that we don't think, okay, what networking group will we join? And ooh, networking makes me feel icky. We actually go, in every situation, where do we have an opportunity to find out if there's someone that we might meet that we might collaborate with? Or that we might know someone else that might want to collaborate with them.
And I think that's the point, isn't it? I think when we talk about networking, it comes back to, and we talk about this all the time, is what is your intention in the room, right? The energy, if I come into the room saying, I need to find 5 people who are going to serve my needs today, the likelihood of you finding them are probably pretty low, to be honest, because it becomes, you're like, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And I've been in rooms where people come to you and it's like they literally size you up. And if they work out, if you can't give them some business or some support today, they move on straight away. And I've heard people say that's what you should do, go into a room, because that's the idea of being in the room, is to find business. And I really struggle with that, because it's such a transactional way of looking at business. And transactions come and go, relationships stay. And if we only look at business as transactional, then we're only getting that short bite, that immediate kind of need met, rather than that long-term need met, which is what we're talking about, is how do we build long-term connection? And it's not just through a one transaction, it's through maybe a large transaction, or no transactions might be actually how you get benefit from that relationship. It might just be conversation that leads to other things, rather than that individual giving you a financial exchange.
100%. And I think it's a great time to remind our listeners how we met. So, because that in itself was an opportunity for networking and a collaboration coming out of that. So we were at a conference together that we'd both signed up for a coaching program to upskill and, whatever. So this is like 3 years ago now or something. And we turn up, and because we had been sat together for starters, and because of the awkwardness of me being late and them being so cross and you being so kind with trying to help me with all my bits and the whole debacle that it was, could have been extremely uncomfortable, or could have been a wonderful little moment of, yes, we realized we had a little thing there because you understood where I was at, and I really was grateful for your kindness. And so, boom, there you go. It suddenly starts a conversation, right? And then we got to know each other through the whole process. And next time I came up to Brisbane for the next conference, you're like, come and stay. And so that's a great thing, because then we got to know each other outside of that whole environment. Then, of course, as time went on, we realized we have these amazing conversations about business. let's turn it into a live podcast where we can, do it in the way we can. We had initially talked about let's hook up once a month and do it in person. Yeah. And then we were like, hello, Zoom, let's just do it and go for it. And then it's made it, thank you, Zoom, for that. It's really made it possible. And Switchboard, because we can go live in all these different platforms at the same time. And then Anchor, because, we upload that to our podcast channel, etc. So there you go. From one meeting in a conference, from an awkward situation, came a collaboration that's been going on for us for a really long time now. Yeah. So
I say that's our meet cute, right? If you're thinking from a film perspective, that was our meet cute, where the two people kind of literally bump into each other, and kind of the world changes for each other. But to that point that you're talking about podcast, our connection with Anchor and Switchboard, we also have to remember that they're networking for us also. So networking doesn't have to be us physically in a room. And that's the difference between technology at the moment. It's not about having to be physically in the room, even physically talking to somebody, whether it's a Zoom call or a chat in a Teams or whatever. Because we have podcasts are networking. Using Switchboard is networking. Being on Facebook and having that, just showing up and having a live like this, is a version of networking. It's just a one-way version. But every time we do that, every time we show up, we're inviting people to connect with us. And that's essentially what networking is. It's really about bringing one thing together with the other. And we always think about it in that physical conversation of having it, what do you do? What do I do? How can we serve each other? How can we support each other? But networking these days is so much bigger than that. It's actually saying, well, on a podcast and inviting people at the end when we say, hey, come and connect with us on our socials, or email us, or go to our website. That's a version of networking that we often don't think about. And so many people leave that one on the table. They don't do the invitation when they're doing podcasts. They don't do the invitation when they're using their socials. They just share their information, be like, bye. Whereas when we finish off with that clear call to action, we're inviting people to actually come into our world. And that is us. And that's how we can start to network and feel comfortable with networking, even before you have to do that awkwardness of here's who I am in a room.
Yeah, here's my business card.
Yeah, here's my business card.
Totally. So I'd like to put a challenge out to everyone listening, because I recently, so my Positive Passionate Businesswoman Networking Group is online. But I also attend in-person events from time to time that I, force myself to do. And each time I do, I actually enjoy them. But, I think we've all become quite used to not so much being in person. But one thing I noticed, particularly with the in-person one I went to last week, is that I gravitated towards the people I knew. Now, that's really nice because I hadn't seen them in a long time. It was great to have a catch up. But actually, what about if we all, whether it's online or whether it's in person, reach out to someone new? So, for example, I really love it at the beginning of any networking event where you go around the room and it's 30 seconds or 60 seconds or whatever with a chance to introduce yourself. So I make a little note of who I want to then go and chat with, but then often I don't, because it's somebody that I've want to catch up with and they've taken my time. So what I think is really important is that for me at the next networking event, I'm going to go, I listened to what you said. I was intrigued by it. I'm actually going to make myself go over there and meet you, or I'm going to connect with you later on online. So I think that's a really important challenge that we all take on over the next little while is in-person events, find someone new to connect with, and online events, see what's been written in the chat or what you've heard them introduce themselves as, and then go and connect with them on socials, send them a direct message or whatever it is. What do you think, Jenni? Are you up for the challenge?
I am definitely up for the challenge, and it's actually just reminded me because I had 2 conferences in June that I've got a lot of people that I met and connected with, and I have business cards and LinkedIn invitations that I actually need to then take the time to do that, because that's the thing, isn't it? Setting aside time to do that follow-up. So I am up for that challenge, and we'll definitely be doing that in the next week when we're doing our reset. So it's now I've got no excuse to say why we can't stop and do that.
That's right. And I highly recommend a little app called Hi Hello. So when I've been at networking events, often I'm just tragic, clearly, because I'm like, oh, I can't believe I forgot my business cards again. But then I'm like, sweet as, I've got it all on the Hi Hello app. So they can just scan my QR code on my Hi Hello and it shares all of that. And I've set up Hi Hello with one personal and one business on it.
So good.
So depending on who I want to meet are the details that I give them. I cannot say enough how much I love that app. So yeah, really, really awesome. So definitely all of you out there, again, no affiliate going on here, but definitely try the Hi Hello app in terms of networking and meeting people, because it's a great way. Because often you'll say, oh, I'll follow you on Instagram, but then you kind of forgot that that's that person and you forgot to get in touch, or same with LinkedIn, etc. But when you've got it sitting in that Hi Hello app, it's all of the different things about them. It's so cool. So definitely give it a try.
Very, very cool. I love that idea. So lots to think about today, lots of things that we're going to be doing. Challenge out to listening to build your network by actually going out and connecting with someone that you haven't met before, and really get to know them and build a relationship and connection with them, not just for now, but for the future as well, of actually just, building your community is really what networking should be about, not just the transaction. But so how can we get people to connect with you, Kylie?
Well, I think the best place is to come and join the Hello Media Facebook group, where we have fun and I share the latest algorithm updates and latest platform things that are happening. And that's a really great place to hang out. Or, of course, if you're a woman, or someone that identifies as a woman, then you can join Positive Passionate Businesswoman. And it's only $97 for a year's membership. Join our online networking. And it's a great opportunity to, I could say promote yourself, but I prefer to say offer up what you do and find the right people to connect with. What about you, Jenni? How can people connect with you?
Probably Insta and Facebook. So at Elephant in the Room AU, our Facebook page on Elephant in the Room is where we tend to hang out. And Insta, we have our People Purpose Profit networking group that we hang out with. We used to do a lot of face-to-face events in that. We now do a one webinar every month called the Ultimate Authority webinar on the last Wednesday of every month. So come and hang out with us in there, where we share story and have a chat to people about their business and where they're going in their business. But they're the best places to hang out with me, probably Insta and Facebook at Elephant in the Room.
Cool, Jenni. Thank you. Well, I look forward to seeing you next Friday for Bite Size. And I was thinking about our topic and I thought I'd love to be talking about with you email marketing.
Oh, yes. After today's conversation, yes.
Yeah, I've had so many conversations with people about it lately, and then you showed me that very kooky one. So let's chat about that, because anything could happen any day to Facebook, Instagram, anywhere that you're connecting with people on socials. If you don't have their email addresses and you don't have another way to connect with them, then what have you got? Let's talk about how to build that and what to do with it, and how not to annoy people with your email marketing.
I think that's a great idea. Let's do that next week. Right. Email marketing. Make sure you're watching and listening.
Great. I look forward to it. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day.